So, welcome you guys to our third of 4 weeks in an introduction to mindfulness meditation and sort of thinking about how we can create calm during COVID. So, this week we're talking about intense emotions. I just spent a week in a rabbit hole of intense emotions. Anyone else experience some in the last maybe day, month, year? All right, so I feel like I woke up this morning coming out of my rabbit hole. And what I do want to share is that honestly, and the practices I pulled out today specifically are all ones that have been my go-to practices. I also want to name that part of my practice is that sometimes I'm really in my head that I reach out to friends, to mentors, to people in my support system. If nothing else, maybe to have a conversation about what you're watching on TV these days, just to kind of move the brain train out of the intense emotional space. So that's another practice I have. In any case, let's start with a little movement, you guys. And this one comes, I'm just going to stay in my chair for this. This one comes from my mentor, Allison Cohen. And I learned this from my colleague, Randy Joe Greenberg, and it is sand, sky, and sea. So wherever you are, you want to close your eyes and just take a breath. And as you breathe out, reach down towards your toes or getting close to your toes. And maybe just imagine that you are right there at the beach, feeling the sand. And maybe you're brushing your fingers along the ground. Maybe you don't feel like imagining the beach, not a problem. Maybe you just want to notice what your ground is like right here, right now. Just sway your hands back and forth. Maybe it's kind of like the seaweed at the beach. And then on a breath in, you might want to take your hands to your thighs, bring your torso back up, and then reach your hands up as if you were reaching up for the sky. Maybe stretch one hand and then the other. And as you breathe out, take your hands out to a T, and as if you were, which you kind of are, as expansive as the sea, just take some body twists. Side to side, just move the body around. Maybe move your arms to twist differently in your chair. Maybe notice something in your room you haven't noticed earlier, or maybe you're still imagining something you're seeing at the beach. All right, at your pace, let's do that one more time. Take a breath in, breathe out, reach down. Touch the earth, maybe it's the sand. Breathe in, reach up, touch the sky. When you're ready, breathe out. Open up to the expansiveness of the sea. And great, if you want to shake your hands and bring yourself back to the group. All right, friends, let's do a quick mood check. Let me see with your thumbs up if you right here, right now, how you're feeling. Are you feeling like pretty rock star, pretty great? Or are you like, today's all right? Or are you like, you know what? I am freaking cranky today. It is not a good day. And that's just what's so for me right now. Because really, whatever is there for you right now isn't right or wrong. It just is. Feelings aren't right or wrong. They just are. To me, it's been one of the best reminders of practicing mindful meditation. So again, let me just get a check-in of where we are today. Yeah, great. So we're, and can we just say in this too, and really embrace it?
This too.
Speaking of acceptance, I have a little cartoon for you. So we think about what is acceptance, what is mindfulness. It's raining outside. Ugh, I don't like rain. I wish it wasn't raining. My day would be better if it wasn't raining. My day is ruined. Every day like this, it's ruined. It's always like this. Why is it always raining? When all I want is to be sunny. I want it to be different. And acceptance is, it's raining. Yup. Right? So thinking back to some of the things we have talked about in the last couple of weeks, and just as a refresher, that a big part of what mindfulness is accepting what is happening right here, right now, without wishing it to be different. And accepting it without wanting to attach and hang on to when things are good or bad, right? Maybe sometimes we just want to like sit in the bad and talk about it over and over and over again. And also not attaching to when it's bad, right? Because in any case, bad. In any case, we know, as from the quote from James Braz last week, it's going to change. It's going to change. So even just like rain, some days it rains and then it stops. So it's just like that, it's going to change. And how we can be with what's so can really help guide us in how we feel in any moment, how we approach life, and just then with these practices, have some tools in our pocket. So my intention today is to take you through 3 practices. 2 will be fairly short and 1 will be a bit longer. And these are all grounded in working with difficult emotions, which, like I said, I feel like in the last week I've earned a new badge. And I'll share a little bit about what was going on that had that be so for me. And when thinking about difficult emotions, it really is a call for me to think about the two wings of mindfulness: compassion and curiosity, which can lead us to wisdom. And really, it's that inner wisdom of what we really value, who we say we want to be. And while there are all these ways that life lives through us, it may not be us. So me being a very reactive parent, that's life living through me. That is not who I want to be. So that's part of my big commitment for being here and doing this work. And how ironic that that's the story I'm going to share with you today. All right, friends. So as we go to start our first brief mindful practice today, let's take a moment, and in a moment I'll ask you to share in the chat box. Do a quick body scan from your head to your shoulders to your knees and toes, and notice what is the one body sensation that stands out to you as the strongest body sensation. So in the chat box, would you name that? And then following up on last week, would you type if it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? So for example, I am noticing my chair, and it's pretty neutral. So connecting to your body right here, right now. Great, and so as the answers are coming in, so tightness in the shoulder sounds like we need to do some shoulder movement. I can squeeze that in. And Shelby has her cast on her leg. That's unpleasant. And so keep in mind, one of the reasons why the first foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness of the body is because checking in with our body sensations, the feelings, literally the feelings inside our body, different than emotions, is such a roadmap towards learning to identify what's happening right here, right now, and then accessing different tools to curate our response. All right, so for our first meditation today, and it's going to be kind of a brief one, and it's an amazing one. We're going to do a brief metta or loving kindness meditation. So feel free to find a sitting position that feels comfortable for you, or know that other postures that are completely valid and embraced in this mindfulness meditation, insight meditation process. You can sit on the ground in a chair, you can stand, you can be reclined. So I'll take about 30 seconds to let you create the posture that feels most comfortable for you. If you've never tried standing up, maybe you want to give that a try. So I think I'm going to try standing with this one. And if whatever you choose, you can leave your video on, you can leave it off. I don't have to see you while we practice. All right. So as you come into that place where you're choosing to practice that posture, feel softly close your eyes or lower your gaze to the ground. And then really become aware of where your body is meeting the ground. Is it your feet? Is it your bottom in a chair? Or whatever you're sitting on, are you noticing it against your back? Just notice. And then I invite you to bring to mind someone who helped you be here today. There are 1,000 reasons to not be here right now. And who helped you be here today? That is someone who loves and supports you. And as faces come to mind, maybe it's your kids who are working on a project so you can have this time. Maybe a friend invited you. Maybe you remember the first time that person who shared about mindfulness with you. Whatever face or faces come to mind, let's recite these phrases, recite them inwardly to this person or these people. So repeating inwardly after me. May you be happy. May you be healthy and strong. May you be at ease. And then perhaps putting a hand on your heart, on your chest, over your heart. Take a moment and notice if you're feeling any sensations in that chest heart area. Sometimes it's described as a softening or a warmth. As we offer loving kindness, it often literally generates the sensation of love. And then for this next person, I invite you to open up your range of loving kindness and let's think about the first responders, doctors, nurses, people in grocery stores, teachers, like all the frontline workers, parents who are now homeschooling and working jobs. And as these faces come to your mind, let's offer them loving kindness. Repeating inwardly to yourself after me. May you be happy. May you be healthy and strong. May you be at ease. And then if it's available for you, take your other hand and rest that hand on top of the first, or maybe on your belly. Let your hands gently imprint, really imprint onto your body. And now become aware of the most important person to send loving kindness to, and that is you. So again, gently imprinting your hands on your chest or body and repeating after me, either inwardly or out loud. May I be happy. May I be healthy and strong. May I be at ease. May I be happy. May I be healthy and strong. May I be at ease. Let's take a few moments to sit together in this mindful space, noticing the sensations that may be arising in the chest and heart area. Just become aware, become awake to whatever's there. Gently lower your hands away from your body. Softly flutter your eyes open. Reorient yourself to your literal space around you, and then return to our virtual space together. Great, and welcome, Alyssa. So friends, take a moment now, and in that chat box again, if you would just note any body sensations you noticed that shifted during that metta meditation. And keeping in mind that perhaps one of the most important elements of insight meditation is the noticing and becoming aware of what those little baby shifts, right? Like noticing the mind wandering. When we notice it's wandered and bringing it back, like that's that 3 points. I was gonna say the 3-point slam dunk. I don't know that that actually exists. So some ideas coming in. Thanks for sharing. Noticing a heat on the hands, a bit of tingling, the breath becoming deeper and longer. Felt the chest, chin up. Felt love and peace and a smile. Your peaceful voice. I felt some headache tension I hadn't noticed. Stopping. Felt more grounded. Great. So a lot of people do, we talked earlier that mindfulness meditation is not necessarily for stress reduction. That may sound surprising to some of you. Now, one of the things that may be a byproduct of it for sure is stress reduction. What also happens is we can notice, become more aware of what's there in the body, like noticing, oh, I didn't know I had that headache. Yeah, so really great. Thanks for sharing, you guys. So, and I have some notes here, I always do. So want to make sure I share with you everything that I intend to. So part of the idea of working with using mindfulness meditation to work with difficult emotions is using what Tara Brach calls creating the U-turn. And that is noticing that we are in a trance, noticing that we are creating emotional stories that may or may not actually be true. Sometimes I call it brain on the train. Like mine was on the bullet train out of here. I think it went to Jupiter or something this past week. And what Tara offers us is that when we take a U-turn, whenever we shift our attention from an outward fixation, another person, our thoughts, or our emotionally driven stories about what's going on, to the real living experience in our body. So again, so we can, I don't know about you guys, but for a lot of human beings, when we're in that emotional trance, there's a fixation on what's happening outside of me, and often not so much an awareness of what's happening for me. Does that resonate with anybody? Maybe just a show of hands. Yeah, I see lots of nods and hands. Yeah, so it's what Tara's describing here is a universal condition. And by Tara, I'm referring to Dr. Tara Brach, and she's one of my teachers. So a couple of again, the ways that we can create that U-turn is when we notice we are in this heightened state of emotionality. And sometimes it's known as flipping our lid, right? And this hand model is something that comes from Dr. Dan Siegel, where if we think of our thumb as being the amygdala, the emotional center, and this is our prefrontal cortex, this frontal part of our brain. And when we just get really overwhelmed with emotion, we literally flip our lid, right? This is great. I've taught this to first graders. Literally, our thinking, executive functioning goes offline. It's like the internet's been pulled from our brain now, and it can stay there. And I feel like mine was like in a weird state of flipping, not flipping, almost all last week. There's just a lot of tension in my body and a lot of emotional story. And again, bringing ourselves, like noticing it and coming back and coming back. By coming back, I mean to having an anchor, like your feet, like your belly, your hands, some things we've done in the course. Noticing what's pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, without diving into that rabbit hole. I was queen of the rabbit holes this past week. So we've already done a very quick informal body scan, right? We've done it twice. I've asked you to check in and notice like where you're feeling tension or noticing what's opening up. Okay, so just doing that any time of the day is a great informal practice. Where am I holding tension? And then just name it, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And again, without going in the rabbit hole of why it's so or what happened, or right, you get that. Metta meditation, a loving kindness meditation, pausing for a few moments just to think of someone you love and care about and send them love. It could be 10 seconds, it could be a hour-long practice. And one of the things we know from research is that our brains, so amazing, work, we have a negativity bias. It's there to protect us. It's pretty amazing, pretty beautiful, right? Like helps us keep the tiger at bay. But when there's no tiger, maybe the negativity bias could like go on vacation, go hang out with the tigers. A metta meditation, literally, and it's been noted after 6 weeks of practicing this, people literally develop more positive brain neurons. That is pathways in the brain. So it's like if you imagine a mountain with hiking trails, and there are these hiking trails that you've gone on over and over and over again, right? So those are maybe those negative biases, the negative neurons that want us to react, like my reactive parenting. That's what I know. But in deciding to close the trail, right, and put up that barricade, I've got to create new paths. So things like a metta meditation will literally help you create a new path. And maybe the first time you do it, it's a little weird. Maybe the 10th time you do it a little weird. Maybe today you're like, I freaking don't want to do that. It's all right. You don't have to want to do it. You can just do it. So all of that said, these are all ways we can, as we're noticing the intense emotion, we can like literally like pull them out of our pocket and just say, okay, I'm freaking out. I'm going to stop and I'm going to do this practice. So for the last week, I've been managing a lot of what Tara would call, been in a trance. Started on Mother's Day. And I had a lot of, and I mentioned it last week, and that trance that I was, managing last Monday, woof, it's like I've been sailing in it all week. The disappointment, the resentment, the fear, the sadness, it's just like, it just hasn't wanted to go away. It's like this Voldemort, like right here, it just keeps like, like coming over me. And so what I know is that by stopping and practicing these things, and one of the things I've come to know is when I am in the thick of my stuff, you guys, I have a sensation in my solar plexus, and it is a gripping, like a wrenching sensation, so that I can wake up in the morning and check in with it. And if it's there, I know something's off for me energetically, or there's a tension I'm holding. And I would really do well to notice the tension and see what I can do to manage it. So what tools can I use to manage this tension. So again, working with noticing a body sensation. Now, for some people, it's in the gut. It's like your gut's tight or upset. A lot of times, like anxiety for little kids shows up as like a long kind of a, I don't want to say a long-term stomach ache, but can be kind of like that, or a nauseousness. That solar plexus tightness. Sometimes it's a tightness in the chest or the throat or the shoulders. So again, the more we can go in and check out what's happening in our inner landscape, become aware of it, and then those wings of mindfulness, right? How can we be compassionate with ourselves and curious? We can then start to work through it. Again, from Tara Brach, only by purposefully bringing attention to our inner experience can we move from trance toward healing. Only by purposely bringing attention to our inner experience can we move from trance toward healing. So to ignore it, to numb it, we have so many choices, but to open to it, to say in this too, to allow it is a part of that process that helps us on the path toward healing. So let's pivot, and we are going to do a walking meditation, a brief one. I want to introduce the practice to you. Some of you are familiar with it, maybe some of you aren't. And I'd like you to consider it in the context of of managing challenging emotions, right? And here's what I can share with you about that. When if you're in a argument with someone, it could be that you have to walk from point A to point B, or point B to point A. And in one of the more skilled moments I had in this upsetting time with my kids, I had walked away. I said, I need a timeout or a time in, and I'm going to go chill out in my room. So then when I came back to them and I wanted to say some words of apology and own some ways that I'd been, I did this mindful walking so that I could stay in my body and stay present, so that when I walked in to be with them, I would be in that moment with them, right? Because whatever had happened in our argument, that's in the past. That moment was over. So to stay present in what was happening for me in the moment of speaking to them, right? Through my values and through who I say I am, I needed to be as present as possible. So walking towards them mindfully made a really big difference. A few minutes later, I did not return to them mindful walking, and it didn't go so well. All right, so with that said, let us stand up and I'll guide you through a brief walking meditation. Now, you don't have to be, and if walking is not available to you, here is the alternative. Or I'll show it to you as I share the walking meditation. And you can be off camera, on camera, either way works. So the idea of walking meditation is to get really grounded in your body and the movement your body is making, right? So we start out in a nice grounded standing position, and then you really start to notice how you have to shift your weight to one foot, and then you might even narrate, lift, move, place, lift, move, place, lift, move, place. And for me, I have really found what a flat out miracle walking is. To notice really all of those bones and cartilage in my feet and my legs and my hips. Now, if today, for any reason, a walking meditation isn't available to you, maybe you have a cast on your leg, or maybe you're somewhere on a plane and you don't want to get up and walk in that moment, though walking meditation on a plane is pretty great. So a walking meditation without walking would be with your hands. So lift, flip, down. Lift, flip, down. Okay. For a walking meditation, I highly recommend you pick about a 10 or 15-foot spot and you walk to one side of it, carefully, gently turn around and walk back. And we're going to do this for 5 minutes, friends, and then we'll come back. I will be both quiet and doing some gentle guiding. So as you're ready, find that grounded standing position. And as you're ready, you can begin. Now, when the mind wanders, and it will wander because that's what the mind does, it's not a problem and it's not a mistake. I invite you to stop where you are, pause, reconnect with your feet on the ground, and begin again. Every chance we notice the mind wandering and we come back to our anchor is a chance to begin again. Every breath is a chance to begin again. Lift, move, place. Lift, move, place. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. If you notice the mind is wandering, pause the movement, return to your breath or your feet or another anchor you know works for you, and begin again. As you're ready, just come to a standing place, pausing your walking, keeping the eyes closed or gaze lowered towards the earth. Again, take a moment to scan the body, just noticing what's here right now. And again, perhaps naming the sensations you feel as pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And can you choose, create the possibility of not grasping onto what feels pleasant or pushing away what feels unpleasant. Walking in beauty, a traditional Navajo prayer. Today I will walk out. Today everything unnecessary will leave me. I will be as I was before. I will have a cool breeze over my body. I will have a light body. I will be forever happy. Nothing will hinder me. I walk with beauty below me. I walk with beauty above me. I walk with beauty all around me. My words will be beautiful. In beauty, all day long may I walk. Through the returning seasons may I walk. On the trail marked with pollen may I walk. With dew about my feet may I walk. With beauty before me may I walk. With beauty behind me may I walk. With beauty below me may I walk. With beauty above me may I walk. With beauty all around me may I walk. In old age, wandering a trail of beauty, lively may I walk. In old age, wandering a trail of beauty, living again may I walk. It is finished in beauty. It is finished in beauty. Aho. As you're ready to softly flutter your eyes open, gently return your focus to the space immediately around you, and then come back to our collective virtual space as you're ready. And in a little bit, we will be having some conversations. So just curious, you guys, how was that walking meditation for you? Was it thumbs up? Was it Was it thumbs down? Yeah, so it's really great. It's really can be a practical one, as I mentioned, both a formal practice where you say for 20 minutes, I'm going to do a walking meditation, and can be a more informal practice, maybe from your, from your car to a meeting. You kind of get grounded in the here and now. Or if you're on your way to have a courageous conversation, really practicing that, as I tried to do the other day, practicing that to really be in the here and now. All right, so we're gonna do one more meditation and have some discussion. And this next one is a rain meditation. And this has really been one in the past year that has helped me work through a tremendous amount of grief, disappointment, anger. Whenever I feel that knot in my solar plexus for more than like 12 hours, I know it's time to get out the rain meditation. A lovely book that came out this year by my teacher, Tara. And in fact, Melissa gave me this copy. So thank you, Melissa. It's called Radical Compassion by Tara Brach. And something that she notes about the possibilities of this kind of practice, she writes, the deepest transformations in our lives come down to something very simple. We learn to respond, not react, to what is going on inside us. What happens, for example, when something triggers our anger or anxiety? If our habit is to react by turning on ourselves or by blaming or hurting other people or by feeling victimized, are we adding to the suffering of trance? We are adding to the suffering of trance. Let me read that again. If our habit is to react by turning on ourselves, or by blaming or hurting other people, or by feeling victimized, we are adding to the suffering of trance. But if we instead awaken a mindful presence through rain, we are on a path that frees our hearts. And so what RAIN stands for is to recognize is the R, the A is to allow, the I is to investigate, and the N is to nurture. And then there's the space called after the rain. Sometimes I think of it, I don't know about you guys, I love the smell of rain. So after it rains, I go outside and it's like, so after the rain, to me, that's what that reminds me of. Viktor Frankl, an Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist who also survived the Holocaust in Auschwitz, offers us this. Between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in that space is your power and freedom. All right, friends. So once again, as we prepare to shift again into another formal mindfulness meditation, in this practice, you'll be invited to think of someone or an experience that has been challenging for you. Two things about that. One, I invite you to think of someone or an experience that is not like a 10, a volume 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Maybe pick like a 5. And then if during this meditation, if you do feel some strong emotions and it's more than you want to feel, it's not a problem. You can open your eyes, you could stand up, you could get a sip of water, or you could start a walking meditation. So there are always options. All right, so that said, if you'll please find a comfortable sitting position, sitting upright, yet relaxed. And just take a moment, take a nice breath. The body soften and the shoulders soften. And sitting quietly, just close your eyes and take a few breaths. And then bring to mind a current situation in which you feel stuck, one that elicits a difficult reaction. Maybe there's anger or fear, shame or hopelessness. It may be a conflict with a family member, a failure at work, a sickness, pain of an addiction, a conversation you now regret. Take some moments to enter the experience, visualizing the scene, the situation, remembering words spoken, sensing the most distressing moments. Contact the charged essence of the story is the starting place for this RAIN practice. And then the R of RAIN to recognize what's happening in your body, the body sensations. Ask yourself, what's happening inside me right now? What sensations are you most aware of, and what emotions are arising? Is your mind starting to fill with churning thoughts? Just take a moment and recognize what's here. The A of RAIN invites us to allow it to be just as it is. Perhaps send a message to your heart. Let this be. Let this entire experience be. Find in yourself the willingness Pause and accept these moments. What is, is. You might try whispering things to yourself like, yes, and this too. I consent. You also might find yourself saying yes to what feels like a no. Maybe you're feeling some resistance. Maybe you're saying yes, and at the same time, you're thinking, I hate this. It's a natural part of the process. Here we simply try to allow, honoring that what we resist persists. Yes, and this too. The next part of rain, the eye, is to investigate with a gentle and curious attention. Being interested, being kind. Just start to maybe ask yourself some of these questions. Some may resonate, some may not. What is the worst part of this? What most wants my attention right now? What emotions does this bring up? Remember, instead of thinking about what's going on, keep bringing your attention back to the body, the literal sensations. Are these feelings familiar, something I've experienced earlier in life? How does this part want me to be with it? What does this part need most from me right now? When we're fully present, we can listen what this place truly needs, and that begins the healing process. And then we shift our attention to the nurturing process. We nurture with loving presence. As you sense what is needed, what seems like a natural response. Thich Nhat Hanh offers, I care about the suffering. Maybe placing a hand again on your chest into your heart space, saying to yourself, I'm sorry, darling, about the suffering. Maybe you imagine someone brushing your hair away from your forehead and kissing your brow. You might visualize a young part of you surrounded in soft light. You might imagine someone you trust, a parent, a pet, a teacher, a spiritual figure, embracing you. Feel free to experiment with what feels right for you, whether it's through words, through touch, through imagery. Discover how you best feel nurtured. What allows the most vulnerable part of you to feel seen and heard, loved, safe, connected. And then as we shift to after the rain, we might ask ourselves, when I'm not in the trance of a challenging emotion, who do I get to be? Who am I now? How has my being shifted during this time practicing rain? To notice any shifting sensations in the body. And note that if you're feeling raw or another difficult emotion, that will be also completely natural. And continue to offer these feelings that nurturing love and kindness, that compassion. In a moment, we will come out of our rain practice. So as you are ready, gently flutter your eyes open. Again, returning to reorient yourself to your space immediately around you, and then back to our virtual community. And we have a few minutes left, and I would like to invite you to go into a breakout room with someone. And Melissa and Shelby, can I just get a chat box if you are still with us and can practice the breakout room? Great. Okay, so it'll happen magically. And what I invite you to spend just a few minutes sharing in conversation with someone is, what did you appreciate most about those practices in dealing with difficult emotions? We did the metta, the loving kindness, the walking meditation, and the rain meditation. So what did you appreciate most? Yeah. Okay, so know that these are random boxes that will happen. I don't have a choice, or I'm choosing also not to have a choice, I should say. So we'll break out for about 3 minutes and then we'll come back together. So do make sure each person has a moment to share what's so for them, what they appreciated. All right, friends. Let's see. All right. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Hello. Oh, there you are, Renee. Okay. Bye, I'm out. Tapping out, bye.
All right. Hello.
Hello. Excuse me.
You're good.
So ooh, people will be coming back in. I took a sip of tea.
You're good.
I'm verklempt. I took a sip of tea and I have it a little caught in my throat here. All right, so I'd love to hear from two people who'd be willing to, willing to share what you appreciated most about the experiences we encountered today, the practices we experienced today. Would anyone be willing to share?
I don't even think we got to the question.
That happens. That happens. All right, and
I'll
so,
share.
Great, thanks, Renee.
For me, it was really nice to feel grounded, especially right now, with the recovery that I'm going through. But to just be able to be really quiet, and even though I've been pretty still for the last week and a half, it's a difference to be physically still and to be mentally still.
Yes, thank you. Did anybody else have that sort of feeling? We're also noticing the difference of being physically still and mentally still. It's a great awareness, Shelby. And for me, that is part of what drives me to have a formal practice, which is where I take that 5, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 40 minutes out to say, and now I'm still, which helps me notice then later in the day when I'm not so still. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that awareness and sharing. Anyone else? And I'm sorry, when I think Shelby, when you came off, I saw Renee move her hand, so like caught me. Would anyone else like to share what you appreciated about the practices today? Kristen.
I was telling Shelby I also appreciate the grounding, but also being able to put a sensation today in my body with an emotion. I think that, and especially when you said maybe imagine like a younger version, there was definitely a sensation where I was like, oh, what is that? Because it's something that I feel quite often, but never realized it as a trigger. So I think that a definite appreciation of the rain one, where it made me more aware of the sensations in my body and what they mean.
Thank you. And I'm glad you had that connection. That connection has been life-changing for me. Last summer during, I was coming up on the year anniversary of what for me occurred as a really awful breakup. And I was really in it, in my trance, right? And as I was doing rain, I did it every day for a couple of days. And I think on the third day, during the part where it's like, what is it it's asking of you? And what came to me was, and I just put my hands in my heart. Oh, I just got chills again. And I just said, I'm not leaving you. It was like this little part of me needed to hear, like, I'm not leaving you. And it was like something cracked open in me and shifted in like this, just a huge part of me shed. It was pretty amazing. So thanks for listening. Yeah, so continue, today perhaps just to think about what you've appreciated about these practices and others we've done. And of course, I'll send out notes from today. And then, and again, thank you for being here. And then we do not meet next Monday because it's Memorial Day. How did that happen? I don't know. And we will meet on June 1st. Like, how is it June 1st? I think it's supposed to be like March 1st. Anyway, if you have any questions in between, don't hesitate to reach out. And I'd love to leave you with this poem I just have loved during this time. And it is called Allow by Dana Folds. Allow. There is no controlling life. Try corralling a lightning bolt, containing a tornado. Dam a stream and it will create a new channel. Resist and the tide will sweep you off your feet. Allow and grace will carry you to higher ground. The only safety lies in letting it all in, the wild and the weak, fear, fantasies, failures, and success. When loss rips off the doors of the heart, or sadness veils your vision with despair, practice simply becomes bearing the truth. In the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed through new eyes. In the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed to your new eyes. So I'm going to try on my new eyes today. I thank you guys for being here, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.